So, welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Mark Kovacs, and I'm here with my good mate, Jason Bohn. Jason, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Doing great, Mark. Yeah, great to be here.
We're super excited about the show. We're really going to be talking about sports, life, a little bit of business, food, wine, drinks, and really just trying to put the lighter side of human performance. And a lot of folks may not be that familiar with us, so just like to sort of talk through a little bit about your background. You've been a professional golfer pretty much your entire adult life, and just maybe talk about how that came about, what got you into golf, and sort of the pathway to where you are today.
Yeah, great. I'm real fortunate. I started playing golf when I was real young, maybe 7 years old, and my dad introduced me to the game, and I just kind of fell in love with the game of golf. I played it through my kind of junior golf. Then I went on to college at the University of Alabama and to play collegiate golf. And I redshirted my freshman year. And then I had this really odd, kind of unique incidents that happened in my...
So before you get into your story, I've actually got some audio that I'd like to play related to, I think, where this is going. So let everyone know what that was all about.
Yeah, so my sophomore year, at the beginning of my sophomore year in college, there was a fundraiser it was called the Jemison Society, and it was to raise funds for a home that wasn't burned in the Civil War in Tuscaloosa. And what you did is you paid $1 a ball. Every ball you hit within a 6-foot circle in the driving range entitled you to a semifinal shot. And at the time, 19 years old, broke, college student, $10. I bought 10 balls. I hit one in the 6-foot circle. And then this happened over the course of every weekend throughout the month of October. And so at the end of the month, they took all the semifinal qualifiers, anybody hit in the shot, in the 6-foot circle, and they invited them back out on November 1st and said, all right, now what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody hit as many shots as you qualified with, and we're going to measure the 12 closest. We're going to take those 12 people to a hole in the golf course, and if you hit a hole in one, you win $1 million. And so I got through all the process, and I was one of the 12 finalists, and first hole in one ever. Redshirt freshman in college.
So did you get one shot at it?
One shot. I had one shot in the semifinals that got me into the finals, and I hit that shot like 3 foot. I think it was 3 foot 8 inches, so I had to wait to see if I was one of the 12 finalists. And there were about 150 total shots. Some guys had 3, some guys had 2, some guys had 10. But the the worst part about the story was the night before was Halloween. I went to about every costume party in Tuscaloosa as a college student, and so I wasn't feeling up to my best.
There's a lot of people I think that can relate to that. So early morning, a little bit of hungover golf sounds like you know how to do that pretty well.
But maybe one time I knew how to do that pretty well. But yeah, I got pretty lucky, and so I remember jumping on the back of the golf cart. I had one of my teammates that had qualified in the 12 semifinalists, and my coach said, "Hey, listen, if you don't win." They're giving away other prizes, and you can't accept a prize over $500, or you had to turn pro. And so,
and for folks that aren't familiar, that's sort of a college rule. In the past, the NCAA didn't allow college athletes to accept prize money for events.
That's exactly right. And now it's changed. Now it's all you can keep your amateur status after winning a prize like that. But so I'm hanging on the back of this golf cart, and I reach down. I'm looking at my coach. I'm like, I'm turning pro today. Just joking, having a great time. And sure enough, I was the third person to hit. I just threw my ball on the ground. I was kind of really a little bit hungover on the side. I was ready to get home. I watched a bunch of shots, and so I kind of hit this heel cut 9-iron from 135 yards, and it took 2 hops and went in the hole. And it changed my life forever. But it totally kind of gave me the opportunity to be able to maybe chase a dream of playing professional golf.
And that's such an awesome story, just from a standpoint of, and you capitalized on the opportunity. A lot of people get opportunities sometimes, but you turn that into nearly a 20-year career being a professional golfer, and if people don't understand how hard that is.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get there too, though. But I did. I definitely invested it back into myself, and I remember my mom just being super scared because here's a 19-year-old guy. They gave him $1 million. Like she's worried that I'm not going to utilize it in the right
How'd you
direction.
get paid? Was it a lump sum? Was it an annuity over a few years?
It
How
was
did
an
they do it?
annuity it was 50,000 a year for 20 years, which was great for me because I could blow the first 50,000 and then be like, ooh, why'd I do that? And I still had 19 more payments to kind of get myself straight and figure out how to work the finances. But as a parent, it's pretty scary now. Like I think I have a 16-year-old and I'm thinking in 3 years, if I give this guy $1 million, I don't think he can make the right decision. So it was definitely, I was definitely fortunate enough. I had some good things happen along the way, and I kind of invested back in myself. And it was able to turn a career
if there are athletes listening, or junior sports people that are looking to invest in themselves, what would you say were the 2 or 3 biggest things that you thought made a big difference for you in those early years when you really didn't know what was going on?
I think listen to yourself. I think that's the most important thing that I got of it, because I was surrounded by people who, and really, to be honest, I didn't have the game in college. I wasn't a superstar. I barely made the Alabama golf team, and so, but I just kind of was believing in myself and thought, oh man, I'm getting a little bit better every single year. And but I had people that surrounded me and that were friends with my wife or my girlfriend at the time, and they would just say, what's he doing? Is he really going to turn pro? Like, that's crazy. He's never going to make it. And so it was kind of that. That's something that I would say stay away from and be cautious as to who you surround yourself with. I think that's the biggest thing for especially a junior athlete, because as a youngster, I mean, you believe in yourself. You really think you're good. And if you start hearing all the negativeness around you, like, oh, you can't do that, or you'll never be as good as him, or it's few and far between that do actually turn into something. So.
And from a standpoint of, as you sort of got on tour and tried to go through the various qualifyings you had to do, I'm sure there was some really tough moments where you didn't think you were going to get there. You had some bad results, and sort of what was the motivation that kept you doing that, rather than say, hey, I'm just going to go back to school or do something else, get a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me personally was I always looked at something that I did positive. And so, like, even if I had a really bad day or bad tournament or bad score, I was always thinking, oh, well, my bunker game was really good, or I putted really well, or I drove it good that week. And I never really looked at what I did poorly. I always looked at what I did well. And I think that just kept me kind of going, and it kept the encouragement going. There was a point when I got a little later after chasing, I was probably 29, and I started really trying to play professional golf at 23. So that 6-7 year period in there that I was about to give it up, and I was kind of was going to go work at a country club and kind of stay in the game of golf. But then I just had some good fortunes fall my way. I played well at the right time, and before I know it, I got a tour card.
No, it's a resiliency. It's a great aspect. A lot of people have those moments where they're at a fork in the road, and they make decisions that set them up. So there's a lot to be learned from that perspective.
And I surrounded myself. My wife was really encouraging. She was like, "Hey, just give it one more shot. Just go one more time. Try to go to Q school. Like, just give it all you got this last time. Don't give up just yet without giving it up, without giving everything you had, because then you would always look back and say, well, if I would have just done that, I might have been able to make it." So. That's important. Like we were saying, just surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, it's really a great concept for anything you do in life. It's a really valuable aspect of it. So that's neat. You've probably been around so many fun people, unique people. We're going to talk a lot about various folks that we've run across over the years, but it's just a great environment to talk through, because there's a lot of lessons from the sports world that we can take to the business world, that we can take to life, and we're just going to try to explore those in more detail.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about, like, first of all, we had this Alabama-Auburn game kind of recently this past weekend, and like how you guys started and where your education came from and where all this. I'd like for people to know where all that came from.
Your story's about as unique as I've heard. Mine's probably just behind that. I grew up in Australia. I played international tennis. Grew up with Leighton Hewitt. He was a guy that I would compete against a lot. Played the US Open, the Australian Open Juniors. A doubles partner was Andy Roddick at the Junior US Open. So I'd been around in 2 number ones in the world, 2 Hall of Famers, and a bunch of other ones. I played against Roger Federer, a few other folks, and tennis was sort of my life, my passion. Had some injuries that sort of got me into the whole world of physiology, biomechanics, sports science. Wanted to understand the body and go down that path. Never wanted to do anything except be a professional tennis player, but you saw the writing on the wall when you literally couldn't serve over about 90 miles an hour when you used to serve 125, and it's really hard to compete at that level. So I had shoulder surgery, a couple different issues there, and that got me into the world of sports science, research. I thought I was going to be an academic and be a lab researcher. I tried that for about 6 months and very quickly realized that probably wasn't where I wanted to be, and then moved into sort of this applied research, sports science world of working with sports federations, college teams, professional teams, and professional athletes, and trying to help them, stay healthy, improve performance, things in that area. But the Auburn, Alabama connection is a unique one. I went to Auburn, won a national championship there in doubles, spent 6 years of my life there. 4 undergrad, 2 in graduate school, and then had an opportunity to do a PhD, and it was either between UAB or University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and ended up at Tuscaloosa. So we've got that Tuscaloosa connection and the University of Alabama connection. My wife went to Auburn, so anytime we're on a Saturday and watching football, I get about 7-8 hours of football every Saturday, which is great. She dislikes Alabama, like most Auburn fans. I sort of did most of my drinking at Auburn, so a lot of my best football memories were at Auburn. But they're both great programs. They both got really good academics as well, and it was fortunate that that's where I ended up. I could have gone to a lot of schools, and it was a unique story what got me to Auburn. I had actually signed with UCLA. I was going to go West Coast, closer to Australia. Most Australians end up on the West Coast. Some stuff happened there on their side. They got some limitations with some scholarships and some different things. And at the time, there was only a couple options left for me. Georgia was a potential option, Miami and Auburn. And there were 2 guys from my hometown that were at Auburn at the time. And that's how I ended up there. Never took a visit, never saw the campus, just showed up with 2 bags and said, "Yep, I'm here. I'm here to play tennis." And I wanted to stay as close to the tennis courts as possible so I could roll out of bed and practice. Had no interest in going to school actually and going to the academic side, and it's kind of weird because I spent 9 years in school after that. So it's a strange storyline how things happen.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible to think that you just show up in a place, never seen it, no idea, and just to go play college tennis. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's kind of one of those situations. I'd grown up traveling a lot playing tennis, so being away from home, it was still a big deal because you went away for a few weeks, but then you'd always come back. Going away for a year, 2 years, 3 years at a time is a big difference, especially at 18.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're across the world too. It's not easy to get back home.
No, it's definitely not. If people don't realize, it's a full day, 24 plus hours from door to door, from Melbourne to Atlanta is where you fly to. Wow. So it's a long way. And for folks that don't realize, we're actually doing this show from Atlanta, Georgia. I know there's going to be people all over the world listening, so we're going to sort of use some references that are relevant to us, but we'll try to throw in some different perspectives from around the country. I know you've played pretty much every golf course in the US and probably quite a few around the world as well. So I'm sure we're going to have some interesting discussions about different locations. What's the most unique location I would say you've ever been from a golf standpoint?
Oh wow. I would say unique.
Yeah, outside of the best courses, more
right.
so the unique town or unique setting.
That's a great question. I've been some really, really, I don't know, I would say the country of Panama was maybe one of the most unique places I've ever been. And it's a great country, and I had an incredible time, but just very, very remote compared to what I had been to, like riding on a bus, kind of the whole story. There's chickens on top of the bus and you're riding out to this golf course to play professional golf. It was kind of a unique, definitely a unique experience.
Yeah, no, it's neat. I've never been to Panama, but I hear some great things about it. Played against some players from Panama and always really nice people.
Yeah, great. It was a great country. I really enjoyed it. It was very safe. It was fun. It was enjoyable. I didn't speak the language, so a little bit more. That was a big barrier for me. But it was great. Good times.
No, it's neat. It's there's so many countries and environments around the place that you get your different perspectives from, which sort of shape what we do, what we discuss, and sort of how we adapt as well. Because did you ever have an issue with traveling? I mean, your life has been traveling non-stop. Was that something you always were comfortable with, or did it take some time to get used to?
I was pretty comfortable traveling. I didn't really have any issues. I kind of enjoyed traveling. And then as I started, I had my family on the road. We traveled together since, I mean, the time that my kids were 3 weeks old. I mean, we just put them in planes and cars and hotels, and we just stayed on the road until they had to start school. So I mean, uh, I never really. I always kind of enjoyed the travel part of it. I really did. I kind of liked it. But as the career kind of went on, it got more tiresome. It definitely wears on you. And for the daily guy who travels, 3-4 days a week, every single week. I mean, I don't know. God bless you. I mean, it's a difficult life. It's a difficult world to live on the road.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you mentioned your kids briefly. So we're going to get into some discussions, in later shows on, kids playing sports, kids growing up playing sports, early specialization, playing multiple sports. It's a big discussion point, and you mentioned that you had your kids on the road with you, which was probably a unique experience for them, growing up in a little bit of a different environment, but also for you as a parent, having your kids around a long time. I'm sure that was probably, pretty enjoyable having them see you kind of do your job on a daily basis.
It was just great when the job was over. You had someone to go. You had a family to go home to. So, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of a wife. It takes a lot of a family to be committed to doing that. To be out on the road, because I mean, you're at a Hampton Inn or a Holiday Inn Express. I mean, it's not like I can imagine a lot of people think in the professional sports, maybe golf. I'm sure tennis and golf are very similar in that aspect of, and a lot of it's on your own dime. You're doing your own thing, and we look at the most elites in our sports, and they're doing it completely different than the average professional in the sport. So, it was a lot different. We're not in, Ritz Carltons and private planes and all that. I mean, it's a completely different life when you don't do it that way.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point for folks to realize that, the top of the world, do it phenomenally well, and they have the lifestyle that they have unlimited resources to make it easy. But the vast majority of professional athletes in golf and tennis, and they do have to pay for everything. They have to pay for coaching, travel, meals, and then if they don't win, they don't get paid. So it's some weeks they actually lose significant amount of money because of all the expenses, and it puts another layer of stress and pressure that, if you haven't lived it, I don't think a lot of people understand that they don't have the guaranteed contracts. You don't have the guaranteed money coming in where you can have 3 or 4 bad weeks. If you have 3 or 4 bad weeks, you probably have to go work a little bit, do something to make a few dollars to be able to fund the next 3 or 4 weeks of travel and tournaments and things like that. So it just changes the pressure dynamic and the stress relationship, which is something that a lot of folks in all industries sort of understand, especially if you're in sales or if you're in environments that you basically have to do well at whatever your job is to get the funding to keep it going.
Absolutely, especially the new guy coming into the sport as a young professional trying to make it. I mean, you haven't made your money, so it's difficult, and there is a lot of extra stress if you start off poorly. And I always find that to be really the fantastic, phenomenal sports stories are the guys who struggle early on in their careers and don't really do anything, and then all of a sudden they explode through it because that whole extra dynamic and that whole extra pressure of the finances of where they're going to come from, how they're going to manage.
Do you have one example that could be a highlight for that you can think of a person that you're familiar with that sort of really struggled for an extended period and then was able to break through?
I think, and I can't really think of anybody. I think of this gentleman named David Skins, who just is, he just got his PGA Tour card this year, real current, and been doing the game, playing the game. He's 43 years old, so he's been playing professional golf for a very long time, doing stuff at DoorDash in between, like subbing out. He was doing everything to make kind of ends meet. And this year was the first year he got on the PGA Tour. So I think about stories like that. I mean, to keep pushing and grinding for that long, it's impressive to me. I have a few friends that have kind of bounced back and forth between the PGA Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour, and just playing the minor the mini tours and bouncing back and up, and it's a really difficult life. But it's the only thing that they know, and they just figure they're just going to keep going after it. So those stories are remarkable to me. How you can just kind of hang in there. That takes even more of a dedication to me and more self-belief in yourself, because you have a lot of negatives going against you.
And, you know, there's two discussions there. They're so passionate, it is their life. It's really the only thing they know. And there's probably a little bit of fear of, I don't have a skill set to do anything else either. What else am I going to do? And a lot of the athletes I've dealt with, and me personally, you get to that point where you're like, this is the only thing I ever knew how to do or was any good at. And now I've got to figure out something else for the next 20, 30, 40 years of my life to do. And that's scary. That's a scary, conversation to have with yourself.
Thank God for podcasts. Right? That's where we all go. That's where we all come to.
Exactly. We can tell our stories, talk it through, discuss it. But one thing we do with this show is we have these two hot things that we're going to talk about each session, and it's going to be jumping around different things. And we've got a couple to start us off with. If you want to sort of bring up the two hot things that we're going to start with today, and maybe give a little background about why you chose these.
Okay, so I've got two things. My first one is my Hyper Ice Hypervolt Plus massager. This thing, and I think everybody.
And just to qualify, there's no sponsorship here.
None.
We're looking for one if Hyperice is interested, but there is no sponsorship. It's just a great tool that a lot of us utilize on a regular basis.
I mean, we see it all the time. These massage guns are everywhere, and I just don't think I can't do any part of my daily life without it. I mean, I get up. I'm walking in the kitchen, I'm making breakfast. I mean, this thing is just fired up, just vibrating all over my thighs, my shoulders. I mean, but it does. It feels really good. And it's, the coolest thing about this one, and that I did a little bit of research on before I got it, was it's synced up through an app on your phone. And then when you do an exercise through your watch or your phone or anything, like if you're running, it comes and tells you, okay, here, and it says you need to, let's massage your quads here for 15 minutes. And it shows you on this app, like, kind of how to do it. And it's really cool. I mean, but it's all synced in, so it can tell when you're exercising, when you're not exercising, and then it's suggesting the things of what parts of your body to kind of use it on so that you can recover a little bit faster.
Which is really cool, and it's where all the fields are going, is this sort of artificial intelligence / algorithm-based decision making, where it's you're learning about your body every day, and you're trying to make yourself more efficient. Just think back when you started, how antiquated training was. There was no real off golf training. What you did compared to what you do now. It's amazing, and this is one of those tools that have been around about 5-7 years in the mainstream, and it's really blown up over the last 2 or 3 years because of how valuable and useful it is.
I have one. It's the larger one, and then I have one that's like it's the Hypervolt, and I call it the Junior, but it's a little smaller one to keep in my golf bag. So I warm up. I'm always doing it before I hit range balls or whatever I'm doing to warm up to go play golf. I mean, and then it's pre and post, so it's great.
So that's your high performance benefit to the body product.
That's
and
right.
what's your second
second
hot thing?
This is high performance, and maybe not great for the body, but this is the long drink. And for anybody who hasn't had the long drink, this is new to me this summer. I guess that was the first time I had it. It is a gin-based kind of cocktail that was created by the Finns in 1952 for the Summer Games. And I'm not a big gin drinker, and I think of gin, I think of my grandma, I think of playing bridge, I think of like your cheeks all sucked in and people smoking cigarettes. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of gin, but it's not even close. This thing tastes like a Fresca. And I love Fresca, and I mean, it is an awesome, I know we're kind of coming into winter, but it is an awesome, like, kind of summer, fall cocktail. It's just, I don't know. And they have 3 of them. This is the mid-range one. It's about 5.5% alcohol. They have it's a white can, which is 0 sugar, which I don't know why you would want that, but I mean, I don't want that. I mean, a lot of people would want that. And then they have a black can, which is like 8.5 or 8% alcohol, which is a little stronger, so
So
But-
you've got options there, and I've tried. I think all of them, and they all taste phenomenal. I mean, they really do. You got to be a little careful because they taste so good.
So yeah, we kind of counterbalancing ourselves. You know, we got the massage gun and then the cocktail. You
Exactly.
know,
And I think that's life. You gotta balance out, the different aspects of life. You gotta really enjoy every day and have a good time with it while you're trying to get better. So just want to thank you again. This is a first show of hopefully many. Excited to continue this. Tune in, watch us, listen to us on all the available areas, and we're going to continue having unique discussions that really parlay our experiences and try to integrate how to improve performance, tell some good stories, and also provide some valuable insights and education as well. Till next time, we'll see you soon.